Welcome everybody to a edited 1 hour rebellion featuring Wombat battling Doobs for Battle of the Empire. For those of you who have been watching my unfiltered feed, I appreciate it. Thank you for doing that. And you probably will have noticed that I have, I think, 2 or 3 losses to Doobs in a row here. So we'll see if we can come back at this or not. All right, initial setup. A little bit of a different deployment in that I've paired the Death Star in RotE, and I passed on Mahdi, or did not get Mahdi, and I've got the Emperor's card and Vader's card. And I'm going to go ahead and run a rule by fear on Vader. And the thought process is I only have to cover 2 systems. And if I put Vader on rule by fear, it'll make him likely to pull off, a false orders, which he did. Also, interestingly, if you put Tarkin on there and he does not have false orders, then you're in this weird scenario where you're rolling 4 dice on a rule by fear instead of 5. And with Leia blocking, it's nice to have that 5th dice. So that's kind of my thought process there. And then general strategy with the 3 troops on Utapau, the thought process is I'll move the Death Star and the assault carrier to Naboo. Maybe I'll laser Naboo eventually, and then I'll move the Star Destroyer to Bothui. And then I've got flexible movements. I can move to Ord, or I could move to Coruscant, or I could move to Ord and Toydaria, or in any number of things here. Doobs also picked Saw, which is unusual, but he will do that from time to time. With the RotE deck, Saw has some nice features in that, he can play 3 fist missions right away, and he can also do behind enemy lines effectively, kind of like Riken. So sometimes it's nice to have him. Other times you just don't draw any missions and he just does nothing but sabotage the whole time. So we'll see how this plays out here. He is going to sabotage Toydaria, which at first you might think, like, why not just sabotage a Imperial system? But I also don't have a lot of interesting Imperial systems here. I have probably the worst, or one of the worst, production setups you can get. Loyal RotE, loyal Seleucami, subjugated Megiddo, subjugated Mustafar, and then no Corellia, no Celeste. But that's okay. I like RotE. It helps me get around the map and all those sort of things. Leia goes ahead and sits in Utapau because she doesn't really have anything to do. If she's not attacking out with the base. And then if he doesn't do that, maybe I block Mothma's build alliance with the Emperor, but I don't know. So here the Emperor's trying to figure out, my plan was to go to Toydaria, but now instead I'm actually going to go to Corellia. Thought process is I'm going to need some Star Destroyer power out in Bespin at some point here. If you look at the base, where's the base going to be here? Probably makes sense for a Hoth Endor, maybe a Dantooine, possibly a Yavin, probably not Dagobah or Tatooine or Ryloth. So I think I'd say most likely bottom right of the map, second probably bottom left, third probably like Malastare right in the middle, kind of my initial thoughts. And let's talk about the channel a minute. Been getting lots of new views, so I appreciate that. Obviously, please like and subscribe if you have not. My thought process is I think I can play enough unfiltered games to get some games up a couple times a week. And then with the editing required to do these 1-hour sets, I'll take some of the more games where I think I can teach something from, or that have interesting and unique things about them. I can try to edit those down and get one of those up a month, which would be kind of a good goal. So that would be, 9 videos a month and maybe a couple of shorts. So we'll see. I'm probably over setting expectations. So We'll just go with keeping it as is. And then if you do like the unfiltered ones, that's great. If you don't, that's okay. You can just wait for these to come out. Okay, production. You probably saw I drew a couple of good probes there. It was Kessel and what was the other one? Was it Dantooine or Dathomir or something like that? It was, can't even see what that is. Oh, Alderaan. Yep, that's good. So Alderaan's nice because now I can kind of keep that Star Destroyer. The thought process is I can probably move the Star Destroyer to Celeste and then deploy the assault carrier on Celeste. And then the assault carrier can cover Cato and the Star Destroyer can cover Bespin. That's kind of my thought in watching this. He's opening up with Moncal. Okay, fine. I don't have the Emperor back to block that, or I probably would have tried. Vader's going to go ahead and clear Utapau. Now, I think I should have saved Vader for the move, but I can see where this makes sense too. When you bring the assault carrier, you don't have a whole lot of stuff to, don't have a whole lot of room. So I think bringing the striker makes sense because I can cancel things if I get into a pinch. I don't have Bombard, which is what a Star Destroyer is good for, but I do like the idea of the assault carrier going Utapau, Geonosis, Ryloth. That's a little bit of a stretch, but with the Death Star sitting in Naboo, it's a little bit less likely to, for him to just deploy a couple of Moncals in Ryloth or a Moncal in a Nebulon and blow up my assault carrier. So I don't know. We'll see. He's got Wedge. I've got Piet. So anytime Wedge and Saw are on missions, I like to try to keep Vader back to block, but obviously I was more concerned with running missions here, which looks like an R&D, a Rule by Fear, and then an Address Delay. Yep, Address Delay makes sense. Get those ships out. Try to keep up with the Moncal there. Again, this is another reason why I think I should have kept Vader back, because I could have, the idea was Vader blocks against Sabotage, but Tag does that too. So I don't know. All right, with Saw on a rapid, that means Riken is on a build alliance, and probably means that Leia's going to plop on top of wherever Riken's planning on building. So a good, like, maybe 201, not quite beginner level tip, but like a kind of a second layer tip is when you're designing your missions and when you're like drafting out how you think your turn is going to go, you want to think about timing, right? Especially if you have people back to block. So, for example, if I had the Emperor back now and say Tarkin ruled by fear or whatever, he would need to think to himself, well, when is Riken going to build alliance, and is the Emperor going to be back able to block by there or not? So he's probably thinking, and then similarly, if Wedge is on Sabotage, do you sabotage now or do you wait for Tarkin to do his mission in case it's R&D, right? So I think what Doobs is probably thinking here is I'm going to plop Leia where I'm likely to build alliance, and similarly when you're moving your fleet around, try to keep in mind where they might build alliance, right? So you'll notice the only safe places for him to build alliance right now, arguably maybe Geonosis, but if he does that, I can just move the Death Star over there. He can build in Bespin. So what he did, and I think this is a cool move, is he went ahead and moved sabotaged Celeste because he figures I'm going to move the Star Destroyer to Celeste and then deploy my assault carrier there. So that's why I, in hindsight, think moving Vader to Celeste early would have been the right move. But here I can take a construct factory and clean some things up. I do like Interdictor though. Interdictor is a nice cover for the Death Star, but I think construct factory is the right move here. You can see I end up making that decision too, because you can construct factory, pull out an AT-AT, move their next turn. That all feels pretty good. And then Leia went to Cato, which is where they'll likely build alliance at. So now I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is a timing thing, right? So if I move to Celeste and he builds alliance in Cato, I have no unit to cover both Cato and Bespin next turn, right? So instead, I'm debating on whether or not it makes more sense to move to Cato. Then he can just build alliance in Bespin, and that's okay. And then I can deploy my assault carrier to Mustafar, maybe, and cover Bespin next turn. That's a little bit sketchy, but that seems better than moving to Celeste now and then having to double back to Cato later. So that's the thought process there. And had he kept sabotage back, perhaps he could have sabotaged Mustafar, but there wasn't really a way to pull that timing off very well. Maybe Leia and Cato first, build alliance second, sabotage third. I don't know about that. So we'll see. And I think Riken has to go build alliance in Bespin. I think that's where he does go here, but I don't have anybody to block it with, and anywhere I can cover next turn. It's just I don't have an assault carrier deployed to Bespin yet. And he might have regional aid, which is nice to score if he builds another loyalty in Mustafar. And he's doing a rapid. So here's a 101 tip. Maybe this is a 201 tip. I don't know. For rebels, a lot of rebels who play in real life never rapid mobilize early because they don't see the value in it. But let's say the base is in Ilum, or let's say the base is in Felucia, and he just saw Ilum and Dantooine at the bottom of the deck. He can start to bluff like crazy because he knows I don't have those probes. So he can start sabotaging in a way that makes me think the base is somewhere where it's not. And then I'll start devoting resources to there. Or he could draw out action cards. I have Janus and Yularen as options, so Yularen is the obvious pick there, I think. Let's take a quick look at missions too. I've got a lure, and I've got a Soontir hunt them down card, which is nice. He has a Y-wing. Okay, and one of the things that Doobs is great at is keeping a Y-wing on queue to harass assault carriers. So where can he put the Y-wing? He can put it in Ryloth or in Bespin. If he puts it in Bespin, that forces me to make a decision with my shield bunker. Okay, if I put the shield bunker in Mustafar, it means if he attacks, I can play the shield bunker card. Granted, that's expensive, but I can play it to save the assault carrier and then still move a single trooper to Bespin to cover it up, right? So maybe a Y-wing and a trooper would have been nice, or if he keeps the Y-wing in Bespin and I attack, he can still kill the assault carrier, and potentially if there was a troop there too, maybe eliminate the troop, and because I had to deploy the shield bunker, I couldn't deploy a second troop. Possible. If he did that, I think I would probably play Hunt Them Down right now. In fact, I still might. Hunt Them Down would not be a bad thing to do here, except for it backfires if he does decide to attack with the Y-wing. Now, I don't think he will, but I also need to count my moves and figure out where I need to go. So 1 to Bespin, 2 to Geonosis, 3 to Mon Cal probably, 1 guy back to be reactive might be nice, but I need at least 3 moves. And then it looks like I'm thinking about capturing. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, I do have Carbonite and Rule by Fear in hand, so I've got to start bleeding out his rescues if he has a bunch of them, or try to get somebody going. And then I'm also thinking about running a intercept transmission here with the idea if I can play it over Bespin and then potentially capture too, but that's got its risks. a rule by fear and an R&D to clean stuff up. I honestly am not sure why I'm not playing Construct Factory. It seems like the right move would be to, oh, I know why, because I only have an AT-AT on. Well, still, I think that's probably the right move. Probably move the AT-AT to Slust, play a Construct Factory, and then rule by fear in Kato. Maybe he doesn't really have Leia back to block. Maybe she's on Subversion. This does give the impression with 2 leaders back that he was going to attack Mustafar, which he decided to not. So maybe he just doesn't have a whole lot of good missions. Opening up with Infiltrate to me sometimes means you don't have very good missions. And you can see I've got Vader in the back of the leader pool as like a reminder to myself to not use him to block. That's a little bit of a tell. So, now here's a tip for playing Wombat. But, Doobs probably knows I like to block. Vader's really good at blocking dudes, with fist icons, because there's not any 3 strength except for Chewie Rebels, so he's always going to have the advantage when blocking. So I like to have him back there to try to block demolition and those sort of things. Demolition is especially bad because I just played a card to put an assault carrier and a Star Destroyer on the queue, and I didn't start with a lot of production, and I didn't pick Interdictor. So, I don't know. Secret mission with Cassian, that's fine. He's going to have 2 decent missions, or at least a better chance of having some decent missions there. Now I'm realizing I bungled up this intercept transmission I was running, because I just did intercept. I was supposed to intercept over Bespin, but now he played Cassian on Ryloth, and now if I try to intercept there, I'll probably get blocked. So not the smartest move there. So I think I'm trying to figure out how to undo what I just did. And now you can open up spots to run intercept on by, maybe I vacate Bothawi and just leave a TIE fighter over there. So I'm trying to think through what that move might look like. Also, where to rule by fear, right? So I go ahead and rule by fear in Mustafar, and the idea there is a sabotage clears out Mustafar altogether, which I don't love. So maybe if I were Doobs, I would have sabotaged there earlier before I could rule by fear. I don't know. Is what it is. All right, but I did it. So now we'll see. Now where to sabotage for him? Maybe Utapau? Maybe Naboo? Nope, just go with Bothawi. I think if he sabotages Bothawi, I vacate that spot and then definitely intercept there. That seems like the thing to do. And I also have 2 yellow production circles, one in Bespin, one in Seleucami. Yeah, I don't know. Hard to know what the right move is, but I am not getting a R&D off to help sabotage, so here's my chance to get a Super Star Destroyer, so that's nice. And I'll drop that note here. I have been playing more and more projects if I don't start out with good Imperial production. Now I did have Address Delay, which is nice, so I also could have played Construct Factory on Utapau as if it were an Address Delay. I don't know. But having an SSD on queue is nice, because in a few turns I'm hoping to find the base. All right. Hanging out. Fair. Wedge hanging. So what does that mean is coming? Maybe Leia is planning an assault on Ord, or maybe Mothma's running a behind enemy lines and they want to take out that assault carrier with Wedge. That could be fun. So all that being said, I'm still thinking I need Vader back to block. I decide to not vacate Bothawi because I decide it's more important to go to Geonosis. You'll also notice whenever I leave Utapau or Moncal, or not necessarily Corellia, but those planets specifically, I like to leave an ATST and TIE Fighter on the queue or on the planet. I don't know if that's best or not, but we'll see. So maybe I'm changing my mind. I th- I think I'm really trying to figure out what I want to do with Intercept here. If I just want to throw it away, or if I want to make maybe a non-optimal move to Tatooine. And if I go to Tatooine, he can potentially build alliance in Geonosis, but he already has an alliance out in Ryloth. And he can deploy in a Moncal and a Nebulon and some fighters. So if he were to build alliance in Geo, I could put one shield bunker in Tatooine and we could have a fight there with Piet. That feels okay, but I don't know. Yep, lay on subvert. That makes sense. So might as well get some use out of it. He blocks my intercept. That's not the end of the world. I'm glad he did not block my roll by fear. Now Riken's got a move to make, and Vader obviously isn't blocking anything, so I got to start thinking about Vader's move. Do we go to Moncal or do we go to Geonosis with Utapau, which is a thing? I think if I didn't have movement, maybe he deploys in Geo, but maybe because I did still have the Death Star and the assault carrier, I didn't. Maybe I move to Ryloth here. Because if I move to Ryloth, if I move to Geonosis, then that's going to really discourage him from deploying on Ryloth. I mean, what if I draw Ozzel, right? Or I can move to somewhere like Malastare, maybe? Or maybe I move to Kessel. I don't think I moved to Kessel. I think I have to move to, because here's the thing, I can't move to Kessel with the assault carrier because then the Moncal can pick it off, and I can't really move there with the Star Destroyer because then the assault carriers alone and Moncal could be, the assault carrier could be picked off. I mean, he doesn't have hit and run, but maybe he has something there. And interestingly enough, Riken attacks Tag in Bespin with base units. So that's interesting. That'll score him a decisive victory. I don't have Tag's card to play. It'll kill Tag, and it'll gain him control of Bespin, but I still have a movement left. So I can still move Vader. I can move the Naboo Death Star and the Star Destroyer to Celeste, and then also deploy onto Mustafar. So, that's not 100% safe because he's deploying a Nebulon and has some fighters in the base still. And then he could go after the Death Star right away. But it's pretty early in the game, and I don't necessarily mind. I mean, I don't love losing the Death Star ever, but I don't mind losing the Death Star to... excellent, I got the... oh, no, I didn't because he healed. I don't... losing the Death Star is not the end of the world if you have the base revealed early and you have enough time to get back there. So I think I should have actually blown up a troop there, but we'll see. I guess I was trying to prevent the kill. I did not, so Tag is dead. I feel like I probably should have played the blow up a trooper card instead. Just let Tag live his fate. Okay, but I do have Hunt Them Down, so maybe I get that next round. It's a bummer I don't have any Star Destroyers to deploy, but we'll make do. So I'm thinking, I'm not really thinking about do I move to Celeste? I'm trying to think about Like, is there any reason to not move the Death Star to Celeste? It is slightly safer in Naboo because I can deploy a shield bunker there. But, if he does attack, he's got wedge. He can, he's gonna. I'm rolling a lot of dice. I could bring people too, but I'm rolling 5 black dice as is, and 5 red dice. So I mean, with a lucky roll, I could kill 3 fighters with a Nebulon. So he's probably gonna have to bring a bunch of fighters to do that, and that's not a terrible trade if I still have stuff left over. So I don't know. We'll see. He might not even have it too. I mean, that's the other thing. I think you only attack out of the base at this point if you have a plan on dealing with that Death Star. So, I don't know. So it seems like I definitely need to hunt them down, keep my capture cards. It's probably worth keeping Piet's probe card and a construct factory, but again, definitely regretting not playing that construct factory. So I'll get rid of secret mission and intercept and get Ozzel. No, I don't. Ready for action's not bad. I already have Piet, so I'll have to take Veers. I guess that's okay. And I have a Lure to the Dark Side, so I might be able to even my leader pool at some point. But, that's an interesting... So this is a 101 tip. For capturing, if the Rebel player has early recruit cards or Saw out, I like to actually wait for them to be forced to discard a leader before I start capturing. Otherwise, it just keeps their leader pool flush. That might be the wrong idea, but that's sort of my thought. Okay, deploying to guard the shield bunker. Had I drawn Ozzel, I think my very first move would have been to Ozzel over the shield bunker. Or no, that's not true. It probably would have been to Ozzel into that fleet and just Leroy Jenkins it, and then try to draw I don't know. Actually, I don't know what my move would have been. But I have Piet, so I can deploy Piet to protect the Death Star if he decides to go after it. And then I have Yularen to block in case he wants to go after it with Plan the Assault. So no subvert. But now I'm trying to think about what to do because I need to get a construct factory off and a super star destroyer and an R&D, but Tag's dead and I didn't take a tactical or a logistics hero, so I am not really sure what the right move here is. So I play construct factory. I don't know if that's right or not. I think I definitely need to play Hunt Them Down, right? I mean, the only way Hunt Them Down backfires is if his first move is to retreat into the base, but all that'll do is let me take Bespin with the Star Destroyer and then move or just go to Mustafar and play it safe. So, I don't know. I play Construct Factory. I do play Hunt Them Down, it looks like. No, maybe I don't. Or Capture. See, Capture's the wrong play here because he's got one more leader to recruit and he's got to kill somebody anyway, especially if I'm going to try to lure or something like that. So I'll wait one more turn and I'll play Hunt Them Down. I like Vader on it because, yeah, here we go. So Mothma on behind enemy lines, and then because she doesn't have any tactics value, she can bring Wedge. And the right flow here is to wait for Wedge to decide if he's going to play Star Destroyers or not, which he does not. And then I play Ready for Action, which is an action card that brings Piet to the pool. So I say no leader, he says no action card, and then I play my action card to bring Piet to the pool. And now Piet's got some rerolls. He did bring 4 fighters. He actually thought about that for quite a while, but with 3 fighters, I can do 9 damage with 3 rerolls. It's not the most insane thing to have happen, especially with the TIE Fighter card. Because I can play the TIE Fighter card for 2 and then roll 7 hits. But with 4 units and the Nebulon card, I would need to do 12 damage, which is 10 hits, meaning 5 red crits, and the TIE Fighter card, which just isn't going to happen. So instead, I just laser the Nebulon, and then I'll try to do damage to the Starfighters here. He can remove 2 damage. So generally a good rule of thumb is to just evenly damage everything and, overkill whatever you want to overkill. Turns out I should have actually lasered a plane instead, but it doesn't make a huge difference here. So he can choose whichever one he wants to heal. Doesn't matter. Yep, so he can pull both Y-Wings out. That's fair because he wants to try to kill the Star Destroyer afterwards. Now he could retreat too. That might be valid. So he uses 1 in a million to automatically blow up the Death Star. That's sad and gives him 2 points. But he's -1 for Saw, and then I'm holding on to Carbon, so that's okay. Okay, now I'm going to block hits. And he doesn't have the Y-Wing card because he took out a assault carrier with it already. But the Star Destroyer is still a little squishy, but by blocking hits, I managed to survive that. So Piet comes back to the base, and now I need to move that Star Destroyer to the shield bunker quickly because he's got a Moncal and a Corvette out there. And a Star Destroyer and TIE fighters are not going to take that on its own, I don't think. So if I move to the shield bunker, I've got a good round 2 card to play, because if he decides to attack, I can play the TIE fighter card, and if he stays, I can play the shield bunker card. He can only cancel one of those. I don't know. And then if he doesn't attack right now, I can hunt them down. And he doesn't have Wedge anymore because Wedge took out the Death Star, so he'd be attacking with a 1 strength space unit. He could infiltrate there and then have a 2 strength space unit with either Cassian or Dodonna, but it doesn't look like he's going to do that. All right, so now the plan will be to just try to reinforce Mustafar. Make sure it doesn't get sabotaged. I do have a construct factory, I think. Isn't that what I picked? So if he does sabotage it, I can still use a construct factory, even though an R&D would have been more efficient. Whatever, it's okay. So now I got to figure out, do I wait for him to play Maydeen, or do I just try to win the favored roll here, 3-2? And the answer is, I'm just going to try to win the roll, 3-2. So this is a little better than 50% chance that I win. I rolled a 5. That's nice. That's a win. Okay, 1 roll in my favor for sure. And then the right move here, I mean, I don't know what the right move is. The speeders are hard to kill, and I don't have a Death Star anymore, but if I don't get rid of their space and he deploys another Moncal there, I'm going to have a hard time cracking that base. Okay, he reconned behind enemy lines, so I got to watch out for that again. I have a rule by fear. I do that in Kato, it looks like, probably. Yep, Kato. He could block it with Leia, but he doesn't because Tarkin might be on his mission, and if Tarkin's on his mission, that can eliminate Bespin loyalty, and then he won't be able to deploy a Moncal there. Now his base could be in Hoth still, so maybe that doesn't matter as much. He rolls a sabotage and is victorious there, so that's good odds for him too. So he's debating on, does he sabotage or does he shield bunker? He decides with Tarkin probably being on R&D or construct, it's probably better to get rid of the bunker. It means he's probably planning on attacking there, either out of the Hoth base or out of Bespin or out of both. We'll just have to see where he deploys that Moncal. All right. So where else do I need to move to? Now I need to start thinking about, like, how do I get this map under control? And Riken is probably on Build Alliance, and Leia can probably sit there again, and I don't really have anybody functional to block it. So I put a construct factory on, not on Ord, and the reason is because I already have all my assault carriers out. So on Corellia, to get another striker out seems okay. It basically used that card as a address delay, which, you know, okay, fine. Yularen goes to Geonosis. This is an interesting decision that I don't know if I agree with, but the idea was, I don't know. All right, so he takes Kessel, and then I'm just going to let the Nalhutta region go, and I'm going to just start moving dudes to where I need them to be. So I'll keep the ATST and the flight risk up in Utapau. I guess the idea was Geonosis is a little closer to the base than Ryloth is, but I gotta go back to Ryloth at some point. So I don't know, maybe I'm going to put an assault carrier up there to back cover Ryloth. And then my Star Destroyer is one step closer. This has the feeling of a game where I just don't end up with enough stuff now the Death Star's been wiped. But I do have a pretty good thing going. I do have a SSD. I do have a way to delay for a couple of times. And I just drew Ozzel, but not with his good card, with his address delay card. And I'm thinking about, do I need Krennic for any reason? I don't have a need to secure the plans, so I just go ahead and go with probably Ozzel, because Gerard doesn't do me any good, and then I can just pull another project card out of the deck, and maybe go with an Interdictor or something. All right, one Star Destroyer. I put the bunker in Dagobah because I might need to deploy there next turn if this fight goes wrong. And then now I'm debating on, do I put the bunker in Mustafar or do I put another assault carrier in Mustafar? And if I put an assault carrier there, that means I'm rolling max dice, and I think I like that. And I have Piet's other card, so I could, if he decides to attack in with 2 Moncal and no Corvette, maybe he brings the ground forces too, right? But there's nothing I can really do about that. Shield bunker helps a little bit, but not a ton, because I think I played the card already. I see what I'm doing. Okay, so I drop an assault carrier in Geo to go backwards to Ryloth, and then the Star Destroyer is going to come to Naboo. Naboo's going to go to Celeste, it looks like. And then I guess I'll clean that up. Akbar back. Akbar. Gosh, Akbar. So he had Wedge, used his card, now he draws Akbar. So he's got Akbar and Maydeen. So that means probably Maydeen might be on his kill 3 strength unit card, his action card, and Akbar might be on It's a Trap. Or one of them could be on the -1 health card and the other one could be on their own card. I don't know. We'll see. The fact that Akbar's back makes me think he's going to attack in with his Moncals and play no card. Like that I won't be able to play an action card. And then he'll flip the combat and it'll be a mess. I also don't have my block 2 red hits anymore. And he is going into the fray here. So on the plus side, I do have lots of dice. And I don't think I'm in a rush, so I don't think I need to just keep my units here without a leader. So I think I can play Piet here. And he's got 6 dice he's rolling, and I'm going to be at 10. And if I can last through a turn, I think no retreat will help. So I think I should probably capture all his, or like pin all his stuff and just try to go haywire with I've got the TIE Fighter card, I can flip the combat back, I can play no heal. I have enough good cards that I think it's worth it. So I decide to play no retreat. And I think this is a big decision that maybe will work out or maybe not. So I play the TIE Fighter card to do 2 damage, and then that forces him, I think, to play the transport card here, because he really needs to try to get good rolls here. And he rolls basically all blanks in 1 hit. Akbar with 3 rerolls gets 2 more hits. Okay, so that's 3 hits out of, 7 dice, 6 dice. I've done worse. Sad not to get that 4th hit. And he's going for the Star Destroyer, which that's going to be a tough one, because if I roll a heal, which I don't, okay, so I roll 3 hits, and all 3 of them are blocked so far. Okay, 3 rerolls. I need 2. I get 1. That's also blocked because of the transport card. Yep. Okay, so they block everything. I don't lose the Star Destroyer, which is nice. He cannot retreat. He did not heal. So now I can play, he can flip the combat now, but I can play no heal. Oh no, he can't flip the combat because he played the card. So he's sitting on, I don't know what he's sitting on now. Oh, Graham Combat. Right, forgot about that guy. I don't know why he brings him. Maybe he's playing his 5-0, his hold them back card. I don't know if I think I have a striker here or not, but I'm not sure why I played that one. All right, maybe just because I think I'm going to win the battle and call it good. Okay, he does 1 damage. I kill him. Okay, fair. 1 to 1. I accept. Okay, now I don't need to flip the combat. I don't have a bunker, so now I just play no heal when he plays it 2, which makes sense. So he can kill me with 2. He rolls 3 heals, which are ineffective with the no heal card. And he's got 1 damage and all 3 misses, so that's too bad. But I guess I did have, must have had a damage on, must have been at 3. All right, fair enough. Rolling back, I roll 2 to kill 1, and then 2 more damage, and then I just need 2 more hits here, which is totally possible here with Piet. Nice, 3 hits. Okay, got that. He cannot retreat the transport. That dies too. That was a good exchange, obviously. 1 Star Destroyer dead for 2 Monkels. I'll take that. Yeah, it does delay me a little bit here because I played a leader there, but I think it's worth it. Now, I think the right move here is probably to capture Akbar. I'm not sure why I didn't. I'm not sure what other leader I think is going to be better to capture, but even if he blocks with Maydeen, then that is, 4 dice to 2, and that's pretty good in my favor. And Akbar's didn't play his card, which makes me think that Maydeen's on the 3 health blow up card, and then also Akbar's card is probably the -1 health card, which can benefit him if he's attacking with a bunch of, if I'm attacking with a bunch of like ATSTs. All right, moving my dudes to Celeste. That makes sense. I can just clean up Celeste again, wishing I had cleaned it up earlier, but I can make up for it now with a Rule by Fear and an R&D. But I'm not on a Rule by Fear, and I'm not on a Construct Factory. So just timing on my cards is not great. Am I on a Rule by Fear? I thought I was on a Capture. Yeah, I think I'm on Capture. Yeah, I gotta be on Capture. All right, he infiltrates. There's really no reason not to capture Akbar here. I'm honestly not sure what I'm doing. I mean, most likely Veers is going to go. Oh, okay. So here's the thought process here. My thought process is he's way ahead on leader timing now. So I can't let him just build alliance and yeah. See, here's the problem. Now he's rolling 3 dice, and I could have had Vader there to block, or at least to try to block that with 2. Wouldn't have worked, but if I had captured, well, maybe it would have. I could have captured Akbar. Yeah, anyway, so now I'm capturing, which is too little too late. And I know he's got a behind enemy lines. I don't know if he's going to be able to use it or not, and Maydeen ends up there anyway, so I'm at 5. Or 4. That's a good roll. 4 to 2. Okay. Again, in my favor, but nice to, I've lost many of those rolls at some point in my life. All right, so we got Akbar, that's fine. So now I got to think about what to do with Hoth or Endor, or we know it's not Bespin because that's where Tag died. So Hoth or Endor. And now Wedge gonna try a sabotage there. And again, that sucks because it was, had I timed this differently, all right, I got lucky there. 4-4. I mean, 4-4 also should go to the defender more times than not, but it's basically 50-50. And then Emperor trying now, or Tarkin trying. Now I'm at 3, and Leia comes in. Yep. So I think my timing on that was wrong, but I did roll a 5, which all right, take that. 3-3 in my favor. Definitely getting the odds here. And then Mothma is on regional and Alderaan to take away my Cato build. Okay, it's fair. It is a build round, so building in Cato was a thing, and they score regional aid. So you'll take a look at the tracker here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 max turns if he doesn't score any objectives, which is unlikely because he just played Raid Outpost. So I have to be very, at this stage in the game, you have to sort of do a quick analysis and ask yourself how you can win and how you can lose, right? I have a lot of open spots on the map. I've got Dantooine and Nal Hutta and lots of places that are raidable, and he's got a behind enemy lines. So, you got to think about what you can control and what you can't. So I probably have enough stuff to take the base, but he also has a mammoth army to deploy, and he's going to have a couple rounds to do it, depending. So I have to check Hoth, and I have to be able to hit Endor too, and I don't have planetary, and I need to defend these. You can see he deploys 2 in Bespin. I need to defend these raid outposts too. So I probably have to deploy in Ryloth to cover Tatooine, and I probably have to deploy a couple dudes in Dagobah, but I also have to figure out what I'm going to do against all this stuff, and I don't have a ton of stuff to deploy on next turn, right? So I got to save some guys to deploy there too. So I put 1 in Mandalore because I'm thinking maybe I need to cover some of these remote systems I haven't covered yet. I don't leave any stormtroopers on the queue, which I think is probably a mistake. But my thought here, so he's got Wedge and Maydeen back. He has not blown up anybody with Wedge. But Maydeen is back, and he can play the -1 health card too. So my thought process is I don't have any space combat to fight, so I'm going to use Piet to check Hoth, so I can't afford to waste any troops here. And then I'm going to attack into Bespin, probably with the Emperor, and probably get Tag there or somebody ahead of time. Now I'm playing Ozzel's card to get a Construct Factory out in case he sabotages Bespin, then I can remove it and also build an ATST, and that'll feel nice. But I think the plan here, and this is a key moment here for how this turn goes, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but you see there's 3 speeders in the base already, and he's going to be deploying at least 4 more guys to the base, probably. So, man, I don't know. All right, so he rescues Akbar. That's fine. So I have to check Hoth, because if he is in Hoth, I can just go and probably win right now, and he's not, so that's okay. So I didn't waste any troopers. But knowing what action card he has and looking at what's in Bespin, I should be I know the base is not in Bespin, and I know if I wander in with everything, I'm going to be subject to the to Maydeen's -1 hit point card, and I'm also going to, and especially because he's playing Maydeen in there right now as hanging out, I think the right move here is to play the Emperor there first and then move in there with Veers next. And that will allow me to, or Vader next, and that'll help prevent the sabotage. And that would allow me to play the Emperor's card with 3 rerolls. And I think it is a mistake to bring both sets of people here. I think I should have only brought the assault carrier from Celeste, and I should have saved the Star Destroyer for the next round, because with the AT-AT card, or with the ATST card and 5 dice, I'm probably going to kill some guys, and then I'm going to be less exposed to the -1 health. So by doing this, he is losing 1 hit point on a speeder, which is probably going to be dead because I'm rolling 4 red dice anyway. And instead, I am losing 4 hit points of red health, which is pretty important when he's got green crits and hunt them down, or take them down, that he can play. All right, so I try to minimize the damage by killing a Vanguard before it rolls dice, and he speeders my AT-AT, which is going to be dead because it's only at 2 health now, so I would need 3 heals to heal it. And then my ATSTs are vulnerable. And if I don't kill that Vanguard this turn, I'm in bigger problems, because then he can do 2 more damage and wipe out my ATSTs. All right, luckily I roll a nice roll, so we're going to do black damage. Reroll the black, and the crit probably. Okay, so the speeder's dead, and double kill the Vanguard. That seems fine. And hoping for no heals here. Also, keep in mind, had I played the Emperor, we'd be 2 less black and no red. So arguably 2 less hits, maybe. But because he rolls 3 hits, he can kill both ATSTs, the tank, the troop. The AT-AT is dead, and he's got 1 more hit to apply here, and he healed a troop. So very good roll by Maydeen, and then that troop can kill 2 more troops, 1 with hold them back and 1 with a hit, potentially. So I can almost lose my entire force here, which is horrible. So I think the better move was to smurf in 1 group and then another. And we'll have to see how this second round of combat goes here. Again, no striker either, which is sad. And I even left some forces behind because I didn't need everything there, because he's not deploying any Moncals or anything. So there was no real reason to rush this, I don't think. And he didn't ever turn to the Jedi or anything. So that's what I was checking right there. I don't have a block a hit card. I would like that right now, so I think I just play the 2 damage to make sure the thing dies, because I definitely can't afford a round 3 of combat. He's also on behind enemy lines now too, so he could potentially. Yeah, he got that. So I've only got 1 stormtrooper there, so this is tough. Also note, I don't have anything to deploy on the queue because I didn't leave anything there either. And I also don't have planetary. So I'm in a tough spot, knowing that even though he doesn't have a scoreable objective, probably, he could pick up a raid outpost with a heist. He could move the base to a raid outpost. No, he can't because I've got troops there. Yep. Bad news bears. Maybe he will sabotage. Actually, no, I guess sabotage is out. Emperor 2. Okay, yep. So I'm trying to get to a point where I can cover Nalhada 2 as a potential bailout spot. Yeah, interesting situation here. So again, need to be super conscious of what objectives he can score. And the fact that Dodonna is in Tatooine right now is brutal. I had kept Yularen back to block. You can see I have Yularen and Vader back to block. Here's the problem. Yeah, that by Yularen going there, it means he's probably heisting. And if I block the gather intel or the infiltrate, he can just heist in Dagobah. So I just need to keep Yularen back, and I'm going to roll a 3 against a 4+2. So that's okay. He doesn't have a lead the strike team, which was the other thing I was worried about. So, okay. Mothma building alliance, that's fine. I'm not going to be lured out, so I can wait for him to try his heist and I can block it. I can't play Ozzel over either of my areas that have raid outposts on them, so I play Ozzel over in AT-AT, and so you might ask why not over where the ATST is, and like in Bespin, for example. And the reason is because if I deploy an ATST in Bespin, now Maydeen uses his card to wipe all 3 of my health, right? He could, and then I'm stuck. So he's going to try a heist. He's rolling 4+2 green dice against 3. I roll a 5. Nice. That's definitely not in my favor to win there. So, okay, fair enough. So now I've got to gather intel. Do that for 1. He can try to block that with wedge. I just need 1 success. This one is in my favor. And I get on Cal. Okay. So fair. He does not move the base. And I think that's the right move. He can deploy 2 more troops in the base, and now he's got 3 speeders, 2 troops, and a deployable troop with the U-wing potentially too. That's pretty tough to deal with. So, I mean, I do still have the Emperor card, but that's not going to do me a whole lot there. So now I have 1, 2, 3 turns to get there. And I don't really have any troops nearby to do that. I have some troops I have a tank in Corellia, which can go 1 move to Celeste, 1 to Bespin, 1 to Endor. Yeah, that's not great. So he deploys in Malastare, which means I actually have to deploy my Star Destroyer to Naboo to play defensive against him trying to grab raid outposts. He also deploys in Nal Hutta because that can go to Bothui and then to Tatooine, but I can cover that with my Star Destroyer. And now that he has heist and there's no hit and run, and he can't behind enemy lines on a remote system, I don't actually need to keep Vader back. So now I can try to extend the game a little bit with capture carbon, which is what I'm going to try to do this turn. So what do I need to win? I need several things to happen here, and this is kind of what I'm thinking about at this point. So because I can't get enough troops there to kill 3 speeders, what I need to do is I need to draw planetary, and I also need to get rid of Maydeen because we believe Maydeen is still on his destroy 3 unit card, and because Akbar did not play his card when he attacked Mustafar. So what I'm trying to do is attempt a draw out capture carbon lure. And this is a little bit greedy because I don't think I need the extra turn that carbon provides, but I'm not sure. And he is into his level 3s, so I need to draw planetary next turn, and I need him to not score before I can play it. So it's asking a lot, especially when I don't have planetary right now, and I've already played Hunt Them Down. So I'm hoping I just need to get lucky here, and we'll see. Okay, Leia attacking. This seems perfectly reasonable because he's trying to make sure I don't reveal the base, because if I reveal the base, he can't deploy there next turn, and he's got troops to deploy. So he'll bring the U-Wing out. There's no real reason for me to bring anybody. That's what I'm thinking of. I was trying to think if there was a sneaky way to get a capture off on Leia there, but I had already played Tractor Beam. So he gets the striker, which is too bad. I can roll for a heal. I don't get it. It's unlucky, but I also don't have the striker card, I don't think. Cards face down. No, it's the ATST card right now. Yep. Okay, so I'll do a damage. He blocks a hit. Heals and gets me. I roll a crit, so I get one back, but that puts me in a I can't reveal the base situation, right? So now my timer is definitely set. So I have to do all of these things. I have to get, and maybe there's a world where I move, Naboo down to Celeste or somewhere. I don't know. We'll see. But I have to try this. So I'm going to draw out. And then I'm a little surprised he did not block it with Wedge. A little surprised he didn't block it with Wedge, but I get it because Wedge moves the troop from Malastare to Bothui. There's a little edit error there. You can see that. So that is okay. I do have the troop movement to move my Star Destroyer to Tatooine. And then I go ahead and try to capture Madine. Now I need to win a 3v2, and that's reasonable, but not guaranteed. I roll 2, he rolls 0. Very lucky. Okay, now that capture played out, the rest of this will go pretty well, unless he is on a rescue, which Cassian could be, and if that's the case, I can't play Vader's card because he's on carbon. I just didn't have enough fists to do that any other way. So he's not on a rescue. And then now I can carbon, and now I'm rolling 6 dice against 2, which feels nice. Okay, yep, that carbon works. So that buys me 1 extra turn. Oh yeah, you see he scored Huts last turn too. He's starting to score a bunch of objectives. Okay, so he's carboned, and then there's no second way to pull another thing off. And again, the reason behind doing a lure here is just to try to make sure his action card is the number one thing that can hurt me, right? So if I just leave him in Carbonite and he frees him next turn, then that means I have 1 less turn to try to draw Planetary. So where we're at now, I think I have 2 turns to draw Planetary. I'll go ahead and try a lure here. Should be enough. Yes, just barely. Okay, got Madine. So now he cannot play Madine's action card, which can screw up a Planetary attempt, because I basically only have a couple of places where there's enough things to even Planetary. Now I could be proactive and I could move, my Ord units back to Coruscant, but I don't think I quite have enough for that. So I definitely need to guard the outpost here. Raid outpost does me in so often that it's difficult. And then I'm trying to figure out how to minimize chances of him scoring things like Raid Factory or the Kill 3 space units, Major Victory 1. There's lots of ways the rebels can score. So again, it seems like maybe I should be moving my forces down somewhere. I just don't have any forces to move. And so do I try to block this? I think I try to block this because I actually don't have anything else productive for Tarkin to do. So I try to block this because if I can, I can deploy there, and I almost do. Okay, because it's a build turn, and I could get a AT, or I could get a couple of troops at this point into Bespin. Again, not enough to swing the result at all. And the probe I get is Geonosis. The other question is, why am I putting things on Gather Intel at this point? Well, you'll notice because he has Cassian, he has a card that's under the radar. I obviously don't know what planet that is, but if I can time things right, especially with captured leaders and now lures in place, I can get lucky and grab that card off the top of the deck. There's no plant false leads in the RotE deck, so I'm not worried about that. But the under the radar card can definitely get me. All right, so deploying now. I have some troops to deploy and an ATST and a couple of tanks. And if you'll notice, I drew planetary. I think I did, didn't I? Right now? Yeah, I did. I drew planetary. So I have 1, 2, 3 maximum turns to get there. And I'll deploy my planetary force in Coruscant, because if he has an assault, he could kill one stormtrooper and I'd still have a full planetary. If he has a plant explosive, same thing. He doesn't have Chewie, so he'd just be rolling with Wedge. I deploy my Super Star Destroyer all the way in Dantooine, because that's a spot, or next to Dantooine, because I can cover it from there. I should be probably deploying stuff in Naboo. I'm not really sure why I'm not. Maybe I do. I don't think he's close to scoring. He's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's not that far away from scoring Uprising if he has it. So this while it while it might not be the last turn, it definitely feels like we're coming into the last turn here. So he's got Wedge back and Leia back. He's got Saw on a mission. He does not have Madine. So I just need to make sure planetary goes through, because that's my shot. I'm going to take the Emperor over Endor with the Star Destroyer, so I can use Bombard. And I'm going to try to push through planetary. And I'm going to put Piet on capture. And or maybe Vader on capture. No, probably Piet. Maybe I use Vader to move. I don't know. And the reason to do that is if he starts stacking leaders in Endor, or if Saw's on, something different and they reveal. And anyway, I can capture and get rid of some red power. So I'm all in on planetary here. Akbar is going to, I don't know what Akbar is going to do. See, he's got another situation on his hands too, which is I'm on my last space card and functionally my last ground card. And, 1 red damage is okay, but if I can cycle my ground cards, I'll be better off. So he might have been thinking, maybe I'll move my troop in Bothawi out somewhere where he can't attack him, but I think I can reach everywhere with a ground troop. I think I thought about that. Maybe not. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. But I'm trying to cycle everything. So he goes with putting Saw in the base, but an unrevealed base. So I could try planetary now and roll 4 dice plus 2 against Madine or Wedge, and then I'd have 3 ground strength, but no Emperor card. And I also have not cycled my cards yet. So where to go? So again, all about timing. So I'm going to go ahead and move Vader to Endor and move everything in there, because that way if I do reveal it, I might have the chance of capturing Saw if I can cycle Tractor Beam, and I'm on my last card. And here my hard drive failed. So I will describe what happens next. Mothma does behind enemy lines to Ryloth. Y to move the transport out so he can't be captured. So then the Emperor goes to Endor and Planetary succeeds. And the Emperor uses according to my design. And we go to the first round of ground combat where I had cycled my cards by attacking Bothui. I did 2 damage to a speeder, and I just rolled like a beast. So I got lots of hits. I have 1 extra damage. I killed 3 black hits, 2 speeder hits, 3 speeder hits, and then the ATST card. So he took down the ATAT, would take them down, and he killed 2 of my troops, and he healed 1 speeder. So he has 2 wounded speeders left, and I have 1 ATST left. One ATST left. Yep, that's right. I don't actually know if that's right. Yeah, that's actually, yeah, I think that is right because I healed the ATST maybe. Maybe I did that wrong. I think that's right. Okay, so I do 1 more damage. So now I've got a 1 killed speeder and 1 wounded speeder. And then I need 2 hits. I rolled 0. I need 1 hit at least. All right, I rolled 1 hit. Now I need him to not roll 2 hits and a heal. He rolls 2 hits, but I'll win because I have space there. So he needs 1 heal, 1 red hit, and a crit. He gets the crit, and that's it. So he does not heal his speeder. He does not kill my ATST, and the top decking planetary worked out real well there. And, you know, there was some luck involved with those rolls because Maydeen could have wiped out that AT-AT, and that would have damaged things. But, you know, a lot of times these games come down to the final move and a couple of key points. So hopefully I called those out for you guys. Hope you enjoyed this 1 hour version. I like these more than the other ones, and I hope to get maybe 1 a month out, and we'll see how this goes. So thanks for coming on this journey with me, and I will see you guys around.